Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. So today's video was supposed to be a book review, but then I popped it into OpenShot. I was away to do the editing, doing a bit of quality checking, and I listened to the first 5 minutes, and oh my lord, did I sound depressed. Oh my lord, you guys do not want to listen to it. So I'm currently debating whether or not to just completely film that review or whether just to film the start, because I do like my mood obviously picks up as I get more excited talking about the book. So we'll see. Um and very quick apologies. I'm now basically taking a lateral flow test every day, so my sniffing is a little bit amplified compared to normal. I am going to do my best to keep it under control, but if it's really annoying you, I do apologise. So I live up in the Highlands of Scotland, and we've actually been really lucky in terms of case numbers up until now. And then over Christmas, a couple of folk got it, and we're now pretty much dropping like flies. It's one after the other. There's currently two people off. We have a team of like 14ish. There's currently two people off with it. One because he actually tested positive, and another because her daughter tested positive. So I'm kind of basically just waiting to get it. And in the meantime, I'm shoving a swab down my throat and up my nose every day. Yeah, I did it about an hour ago. I've settled down a lot more. You know, I was like proper tear streaming. There was not a good test today. But yeah. Anyway, on to the video. What are we talking about today? I thought since I can't give you the book review because I'm not happy with it just yet, I would do a wee reading check-in. I'm not doing my weekly wrap-ups anymore, just because they were almost putting too much pressure on myself, I think. So, yeah, what have I been reading? I did do a wee sort of like festive period TBR-ish thing before Christmas. I think I had like 5 or 6 books I spoke about that I was going to take down with me to my parents to read. Now, that holiday did get cut short. I was supposed to be there from Christmas Day until a little after New Year, but the cat was really unhappy because I took her down with me, and she was just really upset. She was really unsettled, so we decided to cut a little bit short. I came back up north on the 30th and back to all of my books. So that and also like reading with my mum in the room. Yeah, she missed me, I think. I'd read 2 pages and she'd be telling me something else. I'd read a few more pages and she'd be showing me the new sword she has in Dragon Age or Skyrim's what we were playing at the time. Um, so yeah, I actually didn't get as much reading done at Christmas as I thought I would. So yeah, I think I got from that list. I can't even remember all the books I put on that list, but I read 2. So I think that's a success, right? I mean, you know what? I'm proud of me. So what did I read? The first one I read was A Court of Thorn and Roses. I have feelings about this book. So I will say I really enjoyed this book. I found the writing, I just found that there was a step up in writing compared to Throne of Glass. I feel like Sergio Mas, she took like the learning experience. She took the Court of Thorn and Roses. I can't even speak anymore. She took what she learned from Throne of Glass series. I mean, I've only read 2 books, so I can't say too much. But yeah, I feel like she took that series, drew the lessons she learned from this, and applied them here. There was a significant step change in her writing, and a step change for the better. I found, yeah, the writing was much better. I found the characters infinitely more likable from the get-go. Now, I did read this. I started this on Christmas Day. Work and life leading up to Christmas, the last few weeks were chaotic. They were manic. They were busy. December was a hard month. So my brain cells, they weren't the sharpest. A few of them died, I think. Yeah. So the Beauty and the Beast aspects of this, despite the fact that he is frequently referred to as a beast, took me longer than it should have to pick up on. I'm not gonna lie. I I was really happy with where the ship was going, and now I'm not. I don't know. Oh, what's his name? I can't even remember his name. Rysand. I don't like him. I just don't like him. I'm just gonna say it. And I suspect he's gonna be quite prominent. And I'm trying not to get too riled up about this because I can feel myself getting really riled up about this. I've got, is it A Court of Mist and Fury, I think? Yeah, A Court of Mist and Fury. I'm going to pick it up today from the library because my hold finally came through. So I'm probably going to start that pretty soon because, oh, I don't know. I think that book will decide whether or not I want to burn this book, burn this series. I won't. Or whether I fall absolutely head over heels in love with this because I want to love this so much. And I think I do. But if he becomes a prominent love interest, I'm out. I won't be out. I'll continue reading, but oh no. He's just like towards the end he explained why his actions were happening, and I can understand that kind of, but no. Just no. Moving on, because this book is giving me too much feelings again. What else did I finish from that list? I think I'm fairly certain This Poison Heart was on this list. So I'm going to tell you that I really enjoyed this book. This was such a lovely, comforting read. And I'm not going to tell you too much more than that because this is the book review that I'm trying to refilm. I'm trying to decide whether to refilm the start or all of it. So yeah, I will tell you a lot more about this book later. Hopefully in the next video I publish. We'll see. But yeah, really, really enjoyed this one. What else did I finish? So I actually ended up listening to this one, but I finished The Voyage of the Basilisk. Marie Browning continuing to kick it out of the park. Hit it out of the park. I don't know sports references. Basically continuing to slay it. I have now started Labyrinth of Drakes, I think is the fourth one. Now, it's no spoiler that Lady Trent had two husbands. These are basically the memoirs of Lady Trent. It is no spoiler that she has two husbands. It pretty much tells you that really early on in the first book. This is book 3. I'm now listening to book 4. If a certain person is not her second husband, I'm going to be so upset because I absolutely adore him and I think they're perfect and just perfect together. Yeah, that's my main thought for these books right now, is that he had better be the second husband. They continue to be absolutely wonderful. They are basically following a natural historian, lady natural historian, in an alternative universe Victorian society. And her travels. So the Voyage of the Basilisk is predominantly set on the ship, the RSS Basilisk, or the HSS, or the something Basilisk. The RSS Basilisk. She takes her son with her, and just the interactions that we have between certain characters, sort of like the study, the antics she gets up to, the crazy situations she gets herself into. Honestly, these are just such wonderful, wonderful reads. They're narrated by Kate Redding, and her voice fits Lady Trent perfectly. Everyone, go do yourself a favor. Go read A Natural History of Dragons, which is the first book, and find yourself as hooked as I am. That's all. So I've got 2 more books to chat about, and these are basically the books that I've read since Christmas and the first few weeks. So the first one, this was actually the very first book I read in January. It's the very first book I finished in 2022. This is How You Lose the Time War. I simultaneously love and hate this book. I love the lettered portions of these books. So it basically starts off with like a bit of narrated bit, like Red did this, blah 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 blah, and each chapter finishes with a letter to and from Red and Blue. I adore the letters. They're so beautiful. They're so emotional. They're just so touching and heartfelt. And it is basically two characters getting to know each other and basically falling in love through letters. This is just an incredible, incredible love story. Absolutely love the letters. The narrated part, the narration, the non-letter part. I'm not smart enough for this book. It very much falls into like the literary side of sci-fi. It's very lyrical. The writing is very pretty. It's beautiful. I'm just not sure I was smart enough for it. It's the style of writing that very much throws you in there into this world. You know, there's not a lot of exposition. There's not a lot of explaining what's going on. It's very much just, this is the situation, get on with it. And I'm like, I don't know, I find myself confused a lot, not really knowing. It all sort of like made sense towards the end. But yeah, I think I gave it like 3.5 stars. Because yeah, I both loved and really didn't love this book. I think it's definitely worth a read, but I don't know. I'm not going to expect to see this at the top of a lot of people's like favorite books. It's definitely a book that's worth reading and a book worth recommending. But I don't think it's really gonna. I don't think it's gonna. I don't know. I mean, I'm still thinking about this book, which means that the author's definitely done something right, and that's probably what the authors want. But I don't know, this is neither a hit nor a miss. Or it is both a hit and a miss. I really don't know what else to say about this. I was thinking about doing a book review on This Is How You Lose the Time War, and then I realized that so much of it would be, I don't know how I feel about this. I really love this part and I really hated this part, but ultimately I just don't know how I feel about this book. So I'm probably not going to spend too much more time talking about this book because I just don't know. And I think ultimately that's the worst thing for me, because if I finish a book still being kind of like, I just don't know. I don't know how to make up my mind. I don't know how to feel about this book. Suggests it's not a book I'm going to reread. And it's not a book I'm necessarily going to recommend to people. If I see someone thinking about it, I can hopefully try and share my thoughts. Yeah. We're moving on because I just don't know, guys. I just don't know. Right, the last book that I've read, this one was such a pleasant surprise. So I mentioned this in my book haul, and that is The Coldest Touch. I didn't expect to pick this up anytime soon, if at all, if I'm perfectly honest. I expected this one to sit on my TBR shelf for God knows how long and just be there staring at me. And then it was Friday night, and oh my gosh, I've spent the last week in a slump. I pretty much, oh gosh. So I finished This Poison Heart around about the 6th or the 7th. And then I pretty much just didn't read because, oh my gosh, I was in such a slump and I couldn't figure out why. And then I figured out why. I'll discuss that in a minute. I was just sort of like flicking through my TBR shelf trying to find something, and I picked this up and I read the first few pages just to see, expecting it to be, honestly, I was expecting this to be trash. I was expecting this to be Twilight, I'm going to be perfectly honest, because look at this cover. Look at it. This cover is terrible. It is terrible. This is an awful cover. If I walked past this in a bookstore, I would not pick it up and read the back. The only reason I own this book is because it was an extra book in my Fairy Loot subscription. That's the only reason I own this book. But yeah, I read the first couple of pages and I was like, it could be, you know what? Yeah, I could get, it seems okay. It's quite an easy read. I don't hate character immediately, which is a bonus. So I'll read a couple more pages, and before I knew it, I'd read like 80 pages that night. I started reading this like 11 o'clock at night on a Friday night. I was exhausted, but it didn't require too much brain cells. It is a lovely, easy read. And then yeah, on Saturday morning, I came down and thought, I'll read another chapter with my morning coffee. And let's just say, I stayed in my pajamas all day, reading this book. and I finished it on Saturday night. And this was such a surprising read. This basically took not necessarily everything that annoyed me about Twilight, but it took a lot of aspects of Twilight that you're like, this is just wrong, it makes no sense, I don't understand. And it fixed them all. So we've got a 100-something-year-old vampire in high school. Why is a 100-something-year-old vampire in high school? This gave her a valid reason to be in high school. This made perfect sense. Why is this 100-year-old something vampire still acting like a teenager? It explained why. Explained why her emotions are all over the place. Because she's forever stuck in a 17-year-old's body and everything is frozen. And it's just, it made so much sense. So we have our two main protagonists obviously starting to fall for each other. And then we don't have this stupid, oh my god, I can't go on without you. Life is pointless without you. It's almost like at one point there's a massive misunderstanding. Feelings of betrayal on both sides. And you can understand why both characters are feeling that way. And instead of being like, oh, well, do you know, she hates me, life is pointless. Our main protagonist, Elise, is like, I mean, that kind of sucks, but I still need to try and figure this out. So, fine, let her have her tantrum. I need to go and... I don't have her help anymore, so I just need to try and figure this out. And it's just... Do you know what? I really, really liked this book. If Twilight really, really annoys you and you want a book that kind of takes a lot of the issues of Twilight, I'm actually recommending a book that I thought was going to be tripe. And I'm just so, so grateful I picked it up. But yes, in picking this book up, I realised exactly why I was in a reading slump. So I have mentioned on this channel a couple of times now, I am a mood reader. I am the ultimate mood reader. I can't TBR. Right? The closest you're going to get to a TBR is things like my festive TBR, where I'm going away and these are the books I'm taking. I will read one or two of them. That's the closest you're going to get to a TBR from me. But yeah. Do you know what happens when a TBR... Not a TBR. Do you know what happens when a mood reader joins in read-alongs and book clubs? I average 5 or 6 books a month, I think. 4 or 5, maybe 6 books a month. And I suddenly found 3 or 4 of those books were obligation reads for either a read-along or a book club or whatever. So yeah, I suddenly found like half of my reading was already planned out. And I had no flexibility. And I didn't want to pick up those books because I wasn't in the mood for them. So I have decided that going forward, read-alongs, they just can't happen with me. It's just a no. It's a no. So I was supposed to be reading Heir of Fire by Sarah J Maas for the Throne of Glass read-along over at Barb's Bookland. I'm still going to finish that series. Not right now. Just not right now. The Recreate Book Club was doing Lore this month. Now I've got Lore on my shelf and I will at some point read it. But not right now. I mean, you might find that in 3 days' time I'm going to pick it up because I'm no longer have to pick it up. Because I am that fickle contrary creature who says as soon as you're like, oh, you have to read this, I'm like, no. Just no. So the closest thing I have to like a book club obligatory read is Way of Kings. I had just such a lovely chat with a friend last week before, I don't know when, I think a couple of days ago, at some point this month, at some point in January. I spent a few hours on the phone to a friend, which basically started off with her going, oh my god, you guys read Sanderson, I need someone to talk to about Stormlight. I'm like, I've only read Mistborn. But I was wanting to get to this. I've been trying to figure out when to fit this in because of all of these read-alongs. So she has read Stormlight. This is my first read. So what we've kind of decided to do is to do an informal book club where we're going to read like a couple of sections. So I've got about 20 pages left before we sit down and be like, oh my god, everything that happened. You know, we're not necessarily going to discuss like this sentence was so poignant and it made sense to this and it was so beautifully written. It's probably going to be me going, oh my fucking god, I love Jasna. Spoiler, Lizzie, if you watch this before we chat about this, I fucking love Jasna. I don't know if it's pronounced right or not. But yeah, so we're going to read it, but like basically a third of the book or so. Chat about it, a third of the book. Because if, we both pretty much agreed that if we were to just read the entire book and then chat, we'd have a really brilliant discussion about it. But then we'd also leave and be like, oh, I forgot to mention that, and oh, I forgot about that. So yeah, I'm even weirdly making random notes on the Notepad app on my phone as I'm reading this, being like, and they go from, like, oh, I really like what they've done with Kaladin right at the start, how he goes on no spoilers, I promise. To there's one line that is just, I want more Jasna. I adore Jasna. So yeah, this is fun. This is basically my only obligatory read because it's not really an obligation, it's an opportunity read. Yeah, I have thrown all the other read-alongs out the window, and yeah. Oh my god, already I feel so much lighter. So yeah, like I say, I read This Coldest Touch at the weekend. I basically read it in one day and it was beautiful. It was lovely. It was just so nice to just not feel guilty for reading what I want to read. Because at the end of the day, that's it. When I start scheduling in books, I feel guilty for reading things that are not on that schedule. Which then in turn makes me not want to read anything on the schedule because that schedule is making me feel guilty about reading other things. It's just how I am, folks. It's just how I am. Yeah. So, this morning I was like, what do I want to read? And there's one particular series that I've been thinking about the last few days. Just certain scenes just keep popping up into my head really randomly. I'm like, I enjoyed reading that. Oh, I loved it when that thing happened. So there's a series that I've read at least 3 or 4 times. Not Robin Hobb. Although I have read those multiple times. But these were, alongside Robin Hobb, these were some of the books that really got me into reading. Particularly really got me into reading fantasy. And that is The Bulgariad by David Eddings. So this morning I picked up Pawn of Prophecy. I'm so happy. Oh, I love these books. It has been, I've definitely not read them since I moved up to the Highlands, and I moved up here 4 years ago. I want to say it's been at least 5 or 6 years since I've read these books. I'm definitely in a different place in my life. I'm definitely, I don't know, I'm really curious to see what I'm going to get out of them this time. Because I do feel they're the sort of book that I pick up every couple of years or so, and I just come away from it feeling slightly different, but always loving it. Yeah. So, if anyone's looking for, like, basically a relatively easy read fantasy, it's a chosen one, coming of age, get the party together, find the thing, fix the world, is basically any David Eddings story. He's one of my favourite authors. I don't know if I'd say, no, is he? I don't know if I'd go so far as to say he's one of my favourite authors, but he's an author that I'm always going to look on really, really fondly, simply because he got me into reading fantasy. And he's just, yeah, there's always going to be that fondness that he's always going to have a special place in my heart, particularly the Bulgariad. Every member of my family, all 4 of us, we've all read this. This is like the only book that all 4 of us, the only series that all 4 of us agree on is that we all love the Bulgariad. It's pretty much the only series my brother reads, interestingly. Yeah, so this has been a rather long-winded reading check-in, check-up, life check-in type video, so I'm going to end it there before I start rambling even longer. So yeah, how's your month, how's your reading month going? Let me know. And I will hopefully see you with a book review in the next video. See yas!